The wondrous world of Harry Potter is full of magic, mischief, and adventure. This applies to the film's productions as well, which, over the course of a decade, set about bringing J.K. Rowling's world to life. Cast and crew alike have shared plenty of great stories, but some of these tales are truly bizarre. For instance, did you know that the film crew held a mini funeral for Emma Watson's hamster during the production of Sorcerer's Stone? And Michael Gambon, one of the actors who portrayed Dumbledore, played a prank on Daniel Radcliffe using a fart machine? Let's take a look at some of the strangest stories to come from the set of Harry Potter.
You're a wizard, Harry. What?
Helena Bonham Carter seems like a pretty cool lady. She's a phenomenal actress, having appeared in a variety of films from Fight Club to quite possibly every single film Tim Burton has made in the past decade. Her inclusion in the Harry Potter film series felt inevitable, and her casting as the villainous Bellatrix Lestrange couldn't have been more perfect. Carter was known for getting into character, behaving in mischievous and occasionally wicked ways. Her enthusiasm was something to admire, but on occasion, it could be too much, especially when it resulted in a legitimate injury on set. During the climax of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry and his friends break into the Ministry of Magic under the impression that Harry's godfather, Sirius Black, needed to be rescued. Turned out, this was just a trap to lure Harry in. In what seemed like a hopeless moment, the Death Eaters gained the upper hand, grabbing Harry's friends and threatening their lives unless Harry cooperated. Bellatrix grabbed Neville, played by Matthew Lewis, and it was during this scene that Carter accidentally ruptured Lewis's eardrum with her wand. I thought I could brandish the wand like a sort of Q-tip and clean out his ear, she'd recall. Sort of torture it. Later, she admitted to Entertainment Weekly, "I think I took my sadism a bit too literally." Thankfully, the damage to Lewis's eardrum wasn't permanent. A quick trip to Madame Pomfrey's infirmary and all was well. Life can be cruel sometimes. It doesn't matter how famous you are, even at the tender age of 10, you can come up against some pretty brutal realities. Take, for instance, the moment on the set of the first Harry Potter film when Emma Watson found out her hamster Millie had passed away. This event is devastating enough on its own, but imagine having to go out and act anyway. At 10 years old, this must have been extremely tough for young Watson, but the amazing production crew stepped up to make Millie's passing a little bit easier on her. Even this early on in the franchise's history, the crew had become something of a family, rallying around the production's young actors and supporting them whenever possible. So what did they do to help Watson through this tough time? They held a hamster funeral. Watson detailed the event in her 2014 British Artist of the Year Award acceptance speech. The set decorators, Watson replied, built a small mahogany hamster-sized coffin. It had a velvet lining and a silver plaque on the front, which had Millie's name engraved on it. Maybe it was a morbid example to reference during an acceptance speech, but it helped to demonstrate why the British film industry was so special to Watson. Chris Columbus, the director behind Home Alone 1 and 2 and Mrs. Doubtfire, took up directing duties for the first two Harry Potter films, Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. Columbus laid the groundwork for the franchise with his faithful adaptations, and he assembled an incredible cast and crew that, for the most part, would see the entire thing through to the end. But things were shaken up a bit behind the scenes with the series' third entry, Prisoner of Azkaban. Famed director Alfonso Cuaron, director of A Little Princess and Yi Tu Mama Tambien, took up the reins. Cuaron's vision and thematic style were revolutionary for the series. His technique would prove to be so influential that every other film in the series would follow his creative template. Cuaron's involvement is clear, not just from a technical standpoint, but in the growth of his young actors' performances. Thanks to Cuaron's guidance, Daniel Radcliffe in particular showed a new confidence in the role of Harry. One of the things Cuaron had the young trio do at the start of the film's production was compose essays about their characters to demonstrate their understanding of Harry, Ron, and Hermione's personal journeys. While Radcliffe and Watson eagerly charged into the assignment, Rupert Grint ended up slacking off. When the time came to turn in his essay, Grint arrived empty-handed. When Cuaron questioned him as to why he didn't do the assignment, Grint answered, "I'm Ron." Ron wouldn't do his homework either. Cuaron loved the response, recognizing Grint's inherent understanding of his character. Alfonso Cuaron wasn't the only major change to come to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Richard Harris, the actor who had so aptly portrayed Dumbledore in Sorcerer's Stone and the Chamber of Secrets, had passed away. The production decided to cast Michael Gambon in his stead. Gambon managed to provide a little bit more of the youthful energy Dumbledore displayed in Rowling's source material. That prankster nature came through on set too. Though Dumbledore tended to be more stoic, Gambon couldn't resist the opportunity to goof off and mess with his young co-stars. One prank was particularly inspired. It took place during the scene in the Great Hall where the entire student body is in their sleeping bags. Radcliffe had asked that his sleeping bag be placed close to a young lady whom he had a crush on. Gambon couldn't resist the opportunity to embarrass Radcliffe. They decided to place a fart machine in Radcliffe's sleeping bag with Gambon operating the thing via remote. The result was comedy gold. The best part is watching Alan Rickman's attempts to not break character and failing miserably. What was your biggest dream as a kid? I mean, if you became a famous actor, what would be your first purchase? Many of us would likely have chosen a lifetime supply of candy or even a giant pool and a water slide. I'm also sure many of us would have wanted to purchase something like our own personal ice cream truck. Could you imagine having a seemingly endless supply of ice cream at your disposal? Sure, there are the logistics like needing to refill it, but these are minor details. The important thing is actually owning the ice cream truck in the first place. But as we grow older, we grow out of these silly dreams. We start to think of more practical wants and desires. At least that would be the case for most of us, but not Rupert Grint. One of his first major purchases was a 1974 Mr. Whippy ice cream van. According to Grint, the van includes a machine that dispenses ice cream and he keeps it well stocked. He takes great pleasure riding around his neighborhood and handing out free ice cream to the kids. He even brought the van to the set on the last day of shooting to distribute ice cream to all the cast and crew members. Early on in the franchise's production, Alan Rickman revealed that Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling had filled him in on a key detail to Snape's character, something that would enrich and guide his performance all the way through Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. In a 2011 interview with Hitflix, Rickman elaborated a bit on what this detail was. If you remember when I did the first film, she'd only written 3 or 4 books, so nobody knew where it was really going except her, and it was important for her that I know something, but she only gave me a tiny piece of information which helped me think it was a more ambiguous route. When Rickman passed away in 2016, a fan reached out to Rowling on Twitter to ask what this secret bit of information was. Rowling responded, "I told Alan what lies behind the word always." In an interview with Radcliffe and Rowling, Radcliffe mentioned that Rickman would milk it a bit with directors whenever they asked him to do something, stating, "Given what I know, I don't think Snape would do something like that." And here we are thinking we couldn't possibly love Rickman any more than we already do. Clearly, the late great Alan Rickman has provided so many great stories from our list, and we've got another one for you. He and co-star Jason Isaacs, who played the dreaded Lucius Malfoy, father to Draco, had a particular reputation on set. Namely, they used their villainous characters as an excuse to steal things from the film sets. "I once tried to take a copy of the Daily Prophet because there were thousands of them," Isaacs admitted in an interview with Bang Showbiz. He was under the impression that director David Yates was okay with him taking a copy home. It was only later, on his way out the door, that security informed Isaacs that Yates had changed his mind. Isaacs was mortified. He also blamed Rickman for his failed thievery. Early on, Rickman had stolen every single Gringotts coin from the set. From that point on, everyone was on high alert, thwarting Isaacs' attempts. We here at ScreenRant want to take a moment to give Daniel Radcliffe massive props. The dude took one of the biggest roles in the history of cinema and managed to pull it off. Throughout the course of the franchise's production, he stayed enthusiastic and energetic and has always come across as grateful and humble about his celebrity status. It's pretty impressive. A round of applause for the boy who played the boy who lived. What's even more impressive was his willingness to embrace every new challenge thrown his way on set. One of these challenges took place during the shooting of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which required an entire underwater sequence. Radcliffe actually learned how to scuba dive, and according to his diving teachers, he was an incredibly gifted pupil. But the one thing Radcliffe couldn't break the habit of doing was responding to things with a thumbs up. Now, when you're diving, the thumbs up gesture indicates that you're drowning and you need to be brought to the surface immediately. In Radcliffe's case, he was just responding to direction with his standard enthusiastic gesture. It proved confusing at first, but eventually, everyone got the hang of it. Despite the numerous intensive safety measures implemented on the Harry Potter set, that didn't prevent a number of accidents from happening. Some were more minor, resulting in little more than scratches and moderate bruises. Some were far more extensive and tragic. One such occurrence involved Radcliffe's longtime stunt double David Holmes. Holmes had served as Radcliffe's stunt double ever since the very first Harry Potter film, and he and Radcliffe had developed a genuine friendship. While shooting a scene for the final films, a stunt went horribly wrong. Holmes was supposed to be yanked on a wire during a controlled explosion, a stunt he pulled off a number of times before, but for whatever reason, this time it didn't go right. The botched stunt resulted in a broken neck, and he's still in a wheelchair to this day. Despite this horrible event, Holmes has pushed forward, remaining close to his Harry Potter co-stars, and even becoming an ambassador to the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital NHS Trust. Another stunt gone wrong resulted in another major accident. Hogwarts nearly burnt to the ground. This occurred during production on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. During the film's epic final battle, a replica of the Hogwarts set caught fire, and it took crew members nearly 40 minutes to put the fires out. Thankfully, it wasn't nearly as serious as it sounds. As we mentioned, the set that was damaged was only a replica. In fact, a Warner Bros. Representative stated this set was due for reconstruction anyway. No harm, no foul. And that's that. Did you know about all of these strange stories? Are there any favorites we forgot to mention? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. If you haven't already, why not go ahead and subscribe to our channel? That way you can keep up to date with all the strangeness happening at ScreenRant.